What's up, Mark Birdie here from Breakthrough Success. Before we get into the episode, I want to ask you a question. Do you feel like you need to release toxicity in your life and really feel the joy, really feel joyous about each day? And if that's you, there's a great book called Emotional Detox, 7 Steps to Release Toxicity and Energize Joy. It is written by my friend Sherianna Boyle, who also appeared on the Wealthy Author Summit. So that link will be in the show notes of this episode. Anyways, let's get right into this episode. What's up, Breakthrough Success listeners? Mark Birdie, the podcasting coach here, helping people launch, grow, and monetize their podcasts. A big part of success in the online world is to know paid digital marketing. So how do we leverage things like Google ads, Bing ads, social media ads to get in front of the right people and make a profit in the process? So that's what we're going to talk about in this episode. The guest who joins us today, he's got more than 15 years of experience in the digital advertising industry. And after seeing both the client side and the agency side, he decided to start the Compilator. His firm is a full-service paid marketing agency completely staffed by industry leaders, which allows clients to achieve greater results through collaboration with industry experts who have lived in the Google world. Our guest who joins us is none other than James Polidoras. James, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mark.
James, I'm so happy to have you on Breakthrough Success. And digital advertising is so important to really get in front of more people on scale. So I wondered if you could share with us how you first came across digital advertising and how you were able to really turn that into a business.
Sure. So at the time, I was working as a video producer, completely doing offline advertising, and I stumbled across Google Ads to try to get more exposure for my production house. And then from there, I just started researching it more and more and more. And then I saw the movie The Internship, and where they worked at Google, and it was like a really good place to work. So I decided that's what I wanted to do. And then just kept down that road, worked at Google in Sydney for about a year, and then started this. So it just kind of came about just through my own needs.
And it is interesting. I mean, you first come across it to see if this can help you, and then this turns into your business. Yeah. So it is interesting how things like that can work. Wondering what were some of the things you did to really make profitable ads, because it's one thing to create an ad, it's another thing for it to be bringing in income in a profitable way.
Yes. Well, there's a few things. One is we don't just have one ad in an ad group. It needs to be multiple of at least 3 ads. And then when you're writing your copy, you need to utilize the keyword in the ad copy. You need to utilize a call to action in headline 3. And my go-to thing is to put the brand name at the very front of the ad. This allows for brand recognition. It allows to get just the branding part of it done as well. You then have your keyword in headline 2 that then links all together to your website, gives you a great quality score. Then headline 3 is your call to action, and then you get a copywriter to write your copy for you. Don't write it yourself. None of our techniques write copy. It's all done by copywriters. They're paid to know words, so they can do what they do best.
And there's so many ways to do digital ads. I mean, Facebook ads and Google ads, I feel like a lot of people know about those, but Bing ads are also really great when it comes to advertising online. How do you manage all these different ads? Because some people were talking about dozens of different ads we have to manage and make sure. Yeah. I mean, one of them could really mess us up if we're not looking.
It can. Well, we spend kind of every day in the accounts looking over them to paste them and keep track of them. But a very easy way to do that is to look at your budgets. So, for instance, Google Ads, works on a 30.4-day cycle when you're working at your budget. So don't go, unless you're going to be in there every day and pacing it, just take your total budget you want to spend, divide that by 30.4. That gives you daily spend. Then you'll never spend over. So if you're running it yourself and you're really busy on a certain day, you don't get to go into it, you can rest assured that you're only spending what you can afford. That's the easiest way from a financial perspective. From a technical perspective, ask for advice. Don't just set it up yourself. So for instance, if you just wrote, set up a campaign and you had 100 keywords in one ad group, firing 30, a few different ads, but you didn't put any kind of context to those keywords. So there's different match types. If you just had just the word itself, say it was red shoes, and had no plus in front of it, it has no question marks or brackets, that's a broad match term. So that term's got to show for red, anything with the word red in it, and anything with shoes. So you got to get a lot of bad traffic coming through for that term. So do your research, ask for the right advice, and you usually pretty safe.
And it is good to look at budgets and just doing your research, because if you do the initial research, it definitely takes longer to create the ad, but you are coming up with better keywords to optimize for the ads and even lowering your cost per click. Now, one of the mistakes people make with online advertising is they think it's passive. You create the ad once, you sit back, it collects money for you forever. That's a fantasy. So there is a lot of management that goes into keeping the ads profitable, because just because a keyword works today doesn't mean it'll work a few months from now. So can you give us just a little glimpse into what managing an ad looks like for you, like when you go in and you like review to see if something's still working?
Sure. So we will start with the search term report within Google Ads. So if now they've just changed interface again for the third time, but essentially under keywords, you've got search terms, and then search term report. That search term report shows you all the terms that are firing in your account, what's triggering the ads. So we will look at that. We'll look at, is there any kind of erroneous traffic that shouldn't be there, and we'll do what we call a negative keyword. A negative keyword is a term that says do not search for this term. So that's the first part. Then we'll actually take a dump of the data and start doing some manual maths with this stuff. So we'll look at top of tier bids. We'll look at impression share of that term. We look at the ad copy itself. What is the click-through rate? What is the conversion rate of this term? What is converting on this term? What conversion are we converting for? Is it a call from ads, or is it an actual demo? Is it a purchase? What's converting? So if we see that as a call from an ad, that means maybe that it's better to do a call only ad if they're a tradie, because they can't actually get to the phone, or put a message extension in there because they're trying to call but they're not picking up the phone. So we look at all of this. We then look at the copy itself, and we say, okay, this ad itself had really good traction, but last month it dropped. Why? And then we'll start using through our landing pages and our heat mapping. We'll map all that back, and then we have to go back. We have to write new copy, because the copy's tired. People have seen it too often, and it's not working. So we've got to then write new copy. If it's display ads, every few weeks we'll create new display copy. We're putting in frequency caps. So that's a pretty straight sort of snapshot of it, but there's a lot of work that goes into it. The more campaigns you have, the more different types of campaigns you have, the more channels you're using, the more work it is.
And that's the thing with ads. There's just so many different ways to approach it. I mean, for a lot of people, it could just be like changing the copy can yield different results. But if you have a ton of different ads with a ton of different copy, I mean, there's so many ways you can tweak a certain ad to see if it's going to get better results. And just also make sure you only change one thing at a time with the ad, because if you change too many different things, you don't know what was that big factor that led to the big change. Because if you change your copy and that does well for you, but at the same time you change your cost per click and that doesn't do well for you, it balances out. So you think you just ran the same ad. So that is one recommendation on my end. Earlier you mentioned the keyword research, which I feel like is really important. Can you go into a little more detail? Excuse me. Can you go into a little more detail about how you find the right keywords? Like, what does that process look like?
Sure. So for us, it's a pretty intensive process. It starts with the client's website itself. What are they doing? What are they selling? How is it being spoken about on the website? Because at the end of the day, the term that we use has to be there on the site or on the landing page in some capacity. Otherwise, it won't actually work, and it'll get what they call a low quality score. So you'll get a little red mark saying really strange to low quality score, which means your ad doesn't show. So we look at that first. That's the first step. Then we go into basically a workshop with the client where we start mapping out journeys And we start talking to the client about, okay, talk to me about your business. Like, tell me about what kind of technology you use when you go into your client for the very first time who isn't in your business. And we start doing basically this workshop with them, and we start mapping that out. Then we use other tools like Keyword Planner within Google Ads. We go, okay, this is the website, and we go find me new terms. So then we take all that together. We then put that all through another process, and we go, okay, what are the top bids? What are the bottom bids? What is the budget? What can't we use based on the budget? And then we design the campaigns. So from there, it takes about a week all in to go from start to finish. But if you do it right at the very beginning, then later on you don't have to do it again. It's a one-time process essentially. And if you get it right the first time, you don't have to go back and change things.
And I mean, again, like this is, as James is pointing out, like it's a whole week. It's not like you take 5 minutes, you find a bunch of keywords and you run off to the races. You do a lot of research to figure out what are the best of the best keywords that can get you a ton of good clicks at a low price. So all that research allows you to get there. Earlier, I mentioned that you do a whole bunch of different ads, Google and Facebook being two of the most well-known, YouTube kind of the Google. So that's kind of like the same thing happening there. Yeah. I also mentioned Bing because you also do Bing ads. And
we do.
I'm wondering what your thoughts are as to like what is one of the ways to do advertising on digital that you feel like a lot of people are missing on.
Sure. So what we don't realize about Bing is if you already have a Google Ads account, it will import it for you. So you can actually set up a Bing account afterwards, and they already import the entire Google Ads account over to Bing. And so all your keywords are there, all your structure is there, and it's going to be something that just set up really, really simply. And then because it's the actual system itself, it's very similar to the way that Google Ads was a few years ago. So once you get really comfortable with Google Ads, to do Bing, it's relatively straightforward. But there's a whole lot of campaigns within this that you can't do. So Bing is just search. There's no display, there's no YouTube, there's no shopping. If you're a retailer, you need to be using remarketing firstly. With everything you do, there needs to be what we call remarketing, and it needs to be a non-converter remarketing, not an all-user remarketing. So we find this is a common mistake where people will set up a remarketing tag on their site, and they're just going after everybody with no context. It just won't work. You're going after everyone as if they're the same person. So the better way to do a remarketing campaign is through analytics, through audiences, where you're mapping out your audience. So you can essentially set up an audience which is saying, if someone's come to this site and has converted on this action, show them this ad. So you're basically setting up that audience, and then you set the ad afterwards. But you can also set up audiences for a journey, and you can have people bouncing in and out of actual lists. So they start seeing different marketing messages. This is really helpful for e-commerce. So if you were on ASOS and you saw a jacket, and you don't buy it, you will then see that jacket everywhere. But then what happens is you buy that jacket eventually, and then you're seeing the same sort of ad, but they're showing you a pair of shoes. That is because there's a rule base in the system that's saying if they buy this, they most likely want to buy these shoes to show them this. It's called dynamic remarketing. If it's done correctly, it will lead good results. If it's done poorly, and you just end up annoying people and get nothing. So structuring a campaign in a way where you're carrying them. So you've got your search, you've got your display, you've got YouTube, e-commerce, you've got your shopping, then you've got your Bing ads running on the side. Then in your social, you're looking at your demographics and saying, what is my key demographic here? What am I showing? But don't forget about content, because without content doesn't work. It needs to be a two-sided coin. You need to add value first. And with content, it doesn't have to always be about your brand. You've got to remember that people who are on social, they're people. They have other interests. So if Halloween, if you put Halloween messages out, you might have your whole team dressed up and you put that photo out, and that can go on LinkedIn. They can go on Facebook. You might see a funny cat video. It's okay to use that once in a while to put a bit of humor and show that you're human. So it doesn't always have to be about your brand itself, but actually there can be other content as well.
And James, a lot of really great points. I mean, you have to remember, like, there is someone behind the screen. Like, it's not like you're sending this ad. I mean, so many people get stuck on the numbers that we forget that each of those numbers represents a person, and being able to create ads that really cater to those people. And I mean, Bing ads, I've heard about it, but I mean, just the fact that you can import your Google ads. I mean, if you know Google ads already, it really takes very little work to get into Bing with that kind of setup. And Bing is a lot less competitive than Google, because Bing is not the kind of ad network people think of right away, but it's still very respectable size. So definitely a lot of great insights about, which ads, where we should be putting our ads, how we can optimize our ads. For people who want to learn more about James, I know his site, the Compilator.com, that will be in show notes and other places like that. But I'm wondering if you could share with us any additional places where we can follow your work.
Sure. So we will be starting doing some more socials. So all our socials will be active very, very soon. It's one of those things where you're busy working on other accounts, you don't take care of your own. So we'll be doing that very soon. So there'll be more content coming out on our socials. So we'll be doing blog posts, just top settings to look out for on different channels. So that'll be coming up very, very soon. If you're in Dubai, we'll be in Dubai in December at the MagCon event in Dubai for a few days there. So if you are around, come and say hi. We'll be there. Otherwise, just LinkedIn. If you have any questions, throw me a request on LinkedIn. Send me a DM, and I'll be happy to answer them.
Well, James, thank you so much for sharing those resources and all the great insights with us in this episode. It was such a pleasure having you on Breakthrough Success.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for tuning into that episode. One of the ways that you can continue to grow and gain more knowledge in between episodes is my friend's book, Lisa Swift Young. She came out with a book, Pause to Praise, which contains a 30-day guide to happier and healthier relationships with your adult children. So Pause to Praise is a book that I definitely recommend. Lisa also appeared on the Wealthy Author Summit. So she is a very talented author and has a very powerful message with her book. So Pause to Praise will be in the show notes of this episode for anyone who is interested. But once again, thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Breakthrough Success. We've got a lot more episodes where this one came from.